you. I'm Sarah Turner. I'm a freelance medical copywriter, and today I want to talk to you about how to overcome writer's block, or copywriter's block in our case. So, first things first, I feel like giving it a name actually gives it a lot more power. It is super natural for any artist, creative, or anyone who's creating something regularly to have moments of higher inspiration and lower inspiration. So for me, one thing that helped tremendously was to remove that word from my vocabulary altogether. Because when you sit down and you think, oh my gosh, I have writer's block, you're giving it so much more power. And that in and of itself can be kind of crippling. So try really hard to reframe it. Try and just say, accept that there are just times where it's going to come really easy and times where you're going to have to work a little harder at it. But I have found that over enough time showing up and doing the work, even when I'm having moments of lower inspiration and cranking out that work, it's strengthened my muscle as a writer, and it has been a tremendous practice for me. So I really want to encourage you to just try that, Try not to give it more power than it really deserves, because it's super natural. For sometimes it's going to be easier and sometimes it's going to be harder. Just make it as simple as that. So that's my first recommendation. The other recommendation I have is to actually take a second and examine the underlying emotions. And that has been really helpful for me, because we often give it a name, say it is what it is, and kind of give into it. But usually there are other emotions underlying it when it happens. Not always, but sometimes. So take a moment, and when you're experiencing it especially, and journal a little bit about it. Like, what's going on? Are you experiencing fear? Are you experiencing imposter syndrome? Those are all super natural, especially when you're starting on a project that's new to you or you've never done before. That can be a time where it really gets kicked up. So when you do identify some of the underlying emotions, it can be extremely helpful. I've also found this to be really helpful for procrastination. Usually procrastination has some underlying emotional cause or influence. So if it's fear, sometimes the best thing you can do is to actually identify it and then write affirmations that directly counteract it. This has been something that I incorporate in my morning routine, and it has helped tremendously. So instead of just giving it a big name, giving into it, take the time to really examine it. If you're afraid, remind yourself it's normal. Remind yourself of times where you have overcome it. Remind yourself of times where you have overcome other similar fears or imposter syndrome type scenarios. And take the time to write yourself some affirmations, even include it in your morning routine. I have found that to be super, super helpful. And I don't feel like enough people are kind of talking about the underlying emotions behind things like writer's block. But when you start to do mindset work, it really can help with this. The other thing I want to recommend is have a swipe file. Continuously be adding to this swipe file. Anytime you see something, at a doctor's office, walking down the street, snap a picture of it, save it in an album on your phone, save emails that you really love, save Facebook ads and Instagram ads that catch your eye. Keep them all together in one place, because then when you're having moments like this, you can kind of skim through your swipe file and get ideas. That has been a really helpful tip for me as well. The other thing that has also helped me with writer's block is using dictation software. Because when you think about it, do you ever wake up and say, I have nothing to say today? Just nothing. Nothing comes to mind. No, you don't. You always have something to say. So sometimes for me, when I'm having a day of lower inspiration and I really need to crank out a project, I will actually use my dictation software, which helps me a lot. That way I can just kind of speak what I'm thinking about, brainstorm, say things out loud. Sometimes it comes a little easier than actually sitting down and writing, and then you can always go back and clean it up after. That's the thing about dictation software. It's a really helpful tool for any writer, but make sure you're not being a perfectionist, because dictation software, it will have grammar errors, it will have spelling errors, it will not understand what you've said. and have just like word errors, but that's not the point. The point of it is to just kind of get things on paper or digital paper. So try and use a dictation software. Google Drive has a really awesome built-in dictation software, which is great. I use Dragon, which is a paid software, and it's excellent as well. So yeah, those are the things I really want to encourage you to do when you think you're experiencing writer's block. And I would love to hear from you how these things work for you. So go ahead, leave some comments. Do you have other ideas? I want to hear them. And of course, if you like this, hit that thumbs up button. Lets me know what you want to see in the future. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys.